Good morning. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing well. Doing
Good.
well. So, how's your week going?
Busy, busy, busy. I sing with this. I know it's a nerdy thing, but I sing with this big choir, and
Oh,
we sing with a symphony all the time. And so the next 2 weekends are the Christmas shows, and so it's like every night. I've been gone every night this week, and the rest of the
oh,
weekend and next weekend. So it's
that is,
busy, but it's good.
oh, that's
Yeah,
amazing.
it's really fun.
Oh, so I bet you guys are busy right now
Yeah,
singing for different concerts and things like
yeah,
that.
yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
I think it's really fun.
Well, if there's ever anything on YouTube, you should send it to me. I'd love to hear it.
Oh, okay, I will.
See it.
Oh,
Yes, that'd be awesome.
yeah.
All
What about
right.
you? Are you getting ready for Christmas?
Yes, yes. Getting ready for Christmas, and my mother-in-law's coming this weekend, so
Nice.
just getting ready, yes.
Good.
But I did want to let you know, I did talk to Robert about the lines. He
Oh,
said that he said that he's heard that in the past with students, and it won't be disqualified, but they might take like a couple off,
no.
or maybe just one off. Like he said it won't be, he doesn't think it'll be disqualified, but he just said, just to wait. And he said, don't worry about it. Like, don't stress
Oh,
about it.
no.
Yeah. Don't stress about it.
That's so funny. It was so weird. I printed the last one out, and you have to put it in this envelope,
Yeah.
and there's all these instructions. So they ask you to like raise your hand when you're ready, and so I did. And like the person came over, and she looked at it, and I kind of thought she looked at it like, oh, I don't know. I just thought, is there something wrong with it? Oh,
Oh, don't don't stress about it. You know what? Are you on Facebook?
yeah.
Are you on that group page?
I'm on the Sage group page, the old Sage students.
Okay.
What one should I be on?
There's another one called Encouraging Court Reporting Students.
Okay.
That's a good one. I'm not on Facebook right now. I've been taking a break, for about a month, but
Sure.
um, it's called Encouraging Court Reporting Students.
Okay.
Yes. And that it's not just for students. It's also
Yeah.
for new reporters, working reporters. I mean, reporters will ask reporters questions, but you could always throw it out there and say, hey, did anybody experience this? How many did they take off for that? And I'm
Oh
sure you're
my
going to,
gosh, I can't believe I did that.
well, it's just one of those things where, now,
Yeah.
you know,
We didn't even talk about that in school. Like, we never had to change it in school based on the format. And so I didn't even think about it until after the fact.
yeah.
And like I
Yeah.
said, it was like the middle of the night and I sat up in bed
Oh,
out of my sleep.
oh my goodness. Now,
Yeah.
did they give you like a little instruction sheet that said, make sure that you have, you use your header instead of your name, make sure your pages are numbered. Did it
Yeah.
have anything about how many line numbers?
No, it did not have anything about
Oh,
line numbers. It did have, what to put on each page, where the
right.
page number should be. And it said like, if you don't know how to number your pages, you can do it with pencil.
Oh,
You could write it in. It said that. Not the line numbers, but like your page numbers.
right, right.
And you had to label each page by hand, like put something on it. So it
Okay.
had a list of instructions, but it didn't say anything about the line numbers. But it did say on our original letter, this will be a deposition format. And to me, that just meant there's going to be two defense attorneys.
Right.
I didn't even think about like the line numbers.
Right. Well, if it doesn't actually say it on the packet, then maybe it's not that big of a deal. You know what I mean? So don't stress about it.
Yeah. Well, I
I hated
can't
to
help it.
even
I'm not stressing about it anyway, ever.
I know I hated to even say anything because I thought, oh, I don't want to stress her out.
No, it's not. I mean, it's what's done is done. So
Yeah, I'm sure you're fine. I'm sure you're fine.
if they you take off for it, I will write a letter of protest. I mean, like a very
Yes,
polite, pleading letter of protest.
yes,
If I would
absolutely.
have passed otherwise, then I
Oh
would.
yeah,
I'll definitely address it, but
Definitely. Yes. I wouldn't think that would hold you back just if that's the reason. You know what I mean?
yeah, I would think so too.
Yeah,
But
definitely.
you
That
know, whatever.
well, just send them a letter if you
Everything that could go wrong in my whole student life has gone wrong, so I'm ready for it. Whatever, I'll do it again.
yeah, and that's exactly the attitude you need to have. It's like my journey too. It was like, I in fact I had to qualify twice because the
Oh
first time I
no.
let the D out of Wednesday. I mean, it was so and we had a spelling rule where if you missed the same word five or more times it was disqualified.
Oh,
And Wednesday came in the transcript, I don't know, maybe like 6 times, and I let the D out. And
yeah.
it was just, a dumb error. And it got disqualified. So then I had to qualify again. But I did it like the next week,
Right.
I was like, okay, so yeah, you just get that fight and okay, what do I need to do to get it done? So
Yeah. Yeah.
go.
Whatever. I've been through it so much. I'll just keep going.
That's right.
Now.
That's right. Exactly.
But I have just so you know, it doesn't matter to you, but I have not been writing at all. I've just been taking time off except for live class and letting my fingernails grow and just taking a little break because I felt so frazzled after the whole thing.
Yes.
Just need to be another person for a couple weeks and then
Yes. And that's okay. It's good to kind of have a reset and
yeah,
kind of take that break, whether, when you find out the results, whether you get back on it again, or if you go out in the field, whatever,
yeah, yeah.
whatever that may look like.
No, I was just like till Christmas, I'm just
Mhm.
gonna be, I'm not gonna do this every single day for 5 hours. I'm just gonna slow down.
Right. Right. And that's good. That's good.
So
And
I'll probably write like spaghetti today, but that's okay.
yeah, that's okay. That's all right. All right. Well, we'll go ahead and get started. All right. Here we go. Uh-oh. You there? You there? I don't know what happened.
My back.
Yep, you're back.
My internet's been crazy ever since the fires. My internet has been just like it'll disconnect and then connect back up, and I don't know
Oh,
what's going on.
yeah, that's not, and I don't know. It could have been on my part as well.
No, I'm sure it was here. It said I had a little message that said your connection is unstable. I was like, ah. So if I go
Okay.
in and out, I'll be back.
Okay. Yep. Sounds good. All right. Here we go. So let's start off with common words. Convenience, reached, sell, public, floor, store, times, street, original, continue, past, planning, save, understanding, judgment, poor, boys, recently, mine, papers, committee, file, whom, entirely, lines, style, consideration, tonight, catalog, wire, delivery, means, reach, usual, excuse, beautiful, water, correspondence, expense. All right, now these words are going to focus on double O words. They don't always have the oo sound, but we write it with the AO. Here we go. Book, wood, soon, loot, stool, blood, tool, brook, doom, crook, two, rook, cook, food, fool, bloom, took, groom, broom, stood, flood, snook, spook, sloop, swoop, roost, soothe, smooth, goose, tooth, room, boot, coon, pour, noon, boom, foot, coop, shoot, nook, loop, hoof, suit, hook, crook, poop, boost, loose, roof, shampoo, toot, spoon, pool, scoop, booth, moon, loom, hood, door. All right. Now, this is just a vowel practice using all vowels. Here we go. Stair, rear, low, row, hue, higher, mare, purr, lair, lower, tor, pair, pray, soar, rye, roar, bear, higher, high, here, near, lear, liar, tear, by, port, sire, row, by, bore, tar, hard, tear, my, more, bear, lore, tot, tire, sir, sire, see, seer, rare, bow, beer, dot, dote, hair, mow, mire, tour, lure, tear, tort, die, sue, sort. All right. Now I've got a word family that starts with C-O-M. So let me give you the words first before I give you the sentences. Here we go. We've got comment, communicate, commend, compare, committee, complete, compel, comfort, complement, complicate, competent, combine. The judge made no comment. The comment was misunderstood. Will you communicate with your broker? We cannot communicate with the agent. We will commend him for a job well done. I commend you for your effort. The committee will meet on Friday. Is he on the planning committee? Did you complete your training? Where is the complete set of tools? You cannot compel him to answer. Can you compel him to testify? The man gave the girl a compliment. Did you compliment the waiter on the good service? Don't try to complicate the matters. Please don't complicate the situation. Is the doctor competent? Is he competent to stand on trial? He will compare the two items. Can you compare the prices for me? She enjoys the comfort of a warm fire. Did the mother comfort her daughter? After the accident, how do you combine the two recipes? The court reporting school will combine all of your grades to compute a grade point average. All right. Sentences that focus on initial consonants PL. She used plastic plates and platters. The platform was not plated. A plateau was planned. Blood platelets are a plus. We looked at a plateful of plastic. A platinum blonde is pleasing. Platitudes are not pleasant. Ours was a platonic affair. Their platoon played with a platypus. The plaudits were not plausible. They pleaded to play in the plaza. He based his plea on the pleat. Plebes don't wear plaid pleats. Your pledge will plenish us. It was not only plenty, it was plentiful. Pleurisy affects the pleura. A plotter's plight is plumpness. The plumber plugged the plunger. All right. Now, my next drill is going to focus on am, him, many. Here we go. Am I to be the chairman? I am running for the election. Am I supposed to be there? What do you think I am? What am I going to do? He said that I am late. I am here for the mail. I am ready to leave now. What am I getting into? Will many things be sold? Many of us leave him alone. Buy a new shirt for him. I am sure that fits him. How many are there for him? Many items are on sale. Send the papers to him. Many of us will be with him. Buy a new shirt for him. Give him the duty and the responsibility. You should take him to the park. I want him to drive the car home. Am I in time for the meeting today? Do you think I am prepared for it? Tell him to be here by noon or before. Many of the cars need repairs made. Many of us have the time to help him. Many of those are too bright for him. I sent many papers for him to sign. I am to give him the information. Ask him to move the stove over there. Am I to let him leave many here? I am the only one of many who admire him. Many will vote for him tomorrow. I am to give many of the files away. Many of us tried to fix it for him. All right. Now a number drill. This is going to focus on dates. So I'm going to give you some dates first. Some of them have ordinals and some don't. Here we go. June 18, August 22nd, April 11, December 1st, May 9th, January 10, March 30, October 15th, July 21st, November 29, February 26th, September 7th. All right, and here are your sentences. Actually, this is like a little paragraph. I have copies of the 5 invoices. They are dated January 13, February 21st, March 9, April 30th, and May 16th. I believe the invoice dated January 13 is number 18540. The invoice dated February 21st is number 99501. The invoice dated March 9th is number 38954. The invoice dated April 30 is number 73658. And the final one dated May 16 is number 47820. If Your Honor, please, I would like these invoices entered into evidence. All right. Now I've got some legal briefs. You're going to hear innocence, innocent, in other words, judgment, juror, jury. And here are your sentences. The jury will decide the guilt or innocence of the defendant. His innocence is under suspicion. Innocence is not always bliss. She got her way in the guise of innocence. You will remain innocent until guilt is proved. Ian was innocent of the crime. It was a totally innocent transaction. It was done innocently. In other words, I was not planning on attending. In other words, Janet wanted the instructions in Spanish. I believe, in other words, that it is best to proceed. In other words, why do you believe that? The $3,000 judgment will be paid in 60 days. The official decree of judgment will be issued on Thursday. You must know the facts to render the judgments. Don't be so judgmental. A juror was missing after the recess. Each juror was polled after the verdict was read. I think juror number 6 was excused. The identity of the jurors was not revealed. The jury was sworn in at 9:30 a.m. Some members of the jury took notes. The last question and answer was read back to the jury. Both juries found for the plaintiff. All right. Tangle Tamers. Here we go. Peripherally evident, covered porches, behavior modification, inadequately explained, sense and sensibility, quietly persuaded, alternately pressing, louvered draperies, sensitive statement, outpatient facilities, accessories available, radiology department, unusual friendships, foreign exchange student, paraplegic equipment, physical therapist, terribly confusing, constantly misread, high profile, discriminating consumers, fresh architecture, extensive amenities, professional community, colorless environment, beleaguered correspondence, swayed precariously, suburban campground, striking impression, hand-painted pictures, international symbolism, foreign secretaries, microwave combinations, illegal immigrants, recently distributed, home builder extraordinaire, threatened species. All right. Moving into our literary and jury charge, I'm going to give you a paragraph here. I'm going to read it once at 180, again at 200, and then again at 225. Okay. These marks don't stand out really well, so I just kind of went over them. So I want them to really stand out, so I know I'm making my marks. All right, so you're going to hear client, legal, proceeding, lawsuit, litigant, versus, plaintiff, party, action, command, which is from what we went through earlier. You can squeeze it, K-M-A-N-D, defendant, due process, litigation, writ, and entitled. All right, so here is your paragraph. First time at 180. Here we go. A client employs an attorney to represent him in a legal proceeding or for legal advisement. The client who starts the legal proceeding is known as the plaintiff. The party charged in the action is known as the defendant. The plaintiff and the defendant are entitled to due process. A party to a lawsuit may be referred to as the litigant. The word versus means against. Versus is normally abbreviated in running text to lowercase v period. On the majority of the transcript cover sheets and title pages, the letters VS period are used. In a legal proceeding, the plaintiff's name is first, followed by the defendant's name. For example, Smith v. Jones. Smith is the plaintiff and Jones is the defendant. In a criminal case, the plaintiff is referred to as the people of the state of, followed by the name of the state in which the proceeding is tried. The legal proceeding may be referred to as the suit or as the litigation. A writ is a written command issued by a court requiring some action. Okay, so again at 200. A client employs an attorney who represents him in a legal proceeding or for legal advisement. The client who starts the legal proceeding is known as the plaintiff. The party charged in an action is known as the defendant. The plaintiff and defendant are entitled to due process. A party to a lawsuit may be referred to as the litigant. The word versus means against. Versus is normally abbreviated in running text to lowercase v period. On the majority of transcript cover sheets and title pages, the letters VS period are used. In a legal proceeding, the plaintiff's name is first, followed by the defendant's name. For example, Smith v. Jones. Smith is the plaintiff and Jones is the defendant. In a criminal case, the plaintiff is referred to as the people of the state of, followed by the name of the state in which the proceeding is tried. The legal proceeding may be referred to as the suit or as the litigation. A writ is a written command issued by a court requiring some action. All right, so last time at 225. A client employs an attorney to represent him in a legal proceeding or for legal advisement. The client who starts the legal proceeding is known as the plaintiff. The party charged in an action is known as the defendant. The plaintiff and defendant are entitled to due process. A party to a lawsuit may be referred to as the litigant. The word versus means against. Versus is normally abbreviated in running text to lowercase v period. On the majority of transcript cover sheets and title pages, the letters VS period are used. In a legal proceeding, the plaintiff's name is first, followed by the defendant's name. For example, Smith v. Jones. Smith is the plaintiff and Jones is the defendant. In a criminal case, the plaintiff is referred to as the people of the state of, followed by the name of the state in which the proceeding is tried. The legal proceeding may be referred to as the suit or as the litigation. A writ is a written command issued by a court requiring some action. Right. Now I've got some jury charge. The subject is criminal. And I will read this at 200, okay? All right. Here we go. The defendant is charged with the commission of the crime of robbery. The crime of robbery is the taking of personal property in the possession of another from his or her immediate presence and against his will, accomplished by means of force or fear, and with the specific intent permanently to deprive such person of the property. These are special allegations that were charged against the defendant, and you will receive special instructions in that regard. In the case, the specific intent to commit robbery and the commission or attempt to commit such crime must be proved beyond a reasonable doubt. If a human being is killed by any one of several persons engaged in the perpetration or attempt to perpetrate the crime of robbery, all persons who either directly or actively commit the act constituting such crime, or who, with knowledge of the unlawful purpose of the perpetrator of the crime, and with the intent or purpose of committing, encouraging, or facilitating the commission of the offense, aid, promote, encourage, or instigate by act or advice its commission, are guilty of murder in the first degree, whether the killing is intentional, unintentional, or accidental. Murder of the second degree is the unlawful killing of a human being with malice aforethought, when there is manifested an intention unlawfully to kill a human being, but the evidence is insufficient to establish deliberation and premeditation. If you are convinced beyond a reasonable doubt that the crime of murder has been committed by a defendant, but you have a reasonable doubt whether such murder was of the first or of the second degree, you must give the defendant the benefit of that doubt. Okay. I have the sheriff's report that we started last week, so we're going to finish this up. All right, here we go. And this is on additional information from the officer. On 4/1/17 at 16:10 hours, I received a call to assist patrol with a possession of stolen property case. They had been working most of the shift. The suspect, Larry Martinez, has been identified as a suspect in the possession of several stolen vehicles and a suspect in a residential burglary as well, possession of other stolen property. Patrol had 4 people in custody that they had arrested after arriving at the storage unit. I was assigned to serve a search warrant at 2890 Yates. 2890 Yates Street, number 320, a storage facility where suspect Martinez and suspect Myers had put stolen property from a residential burglary. Smith is investigating the stolen vehicle portion of the investigation. Search warrant. On 4/1/2014 at 17:57 hours, I served a search warrant authored by Deputy Hecker and signed by the Honorable Martin Simon on the storage unit located at 2890 Yates Street, number 320. I recovered numerous articles of clothing, paperwork, checkbooks belonging to Juan and Grace Saunders, men's dress clothing and ties, a living water filter, a dirt devil vacuum. Excuse me. I can feel that coming on. Sorry. A car woofer type speaker, and numerous other articles of costume jewelry. Identification of property. On 4/1/14 at 2200 hours, excuse me, I called the phone number listed on the Saunders Bank of America checkbook. I spoke to Dana Saunders, who told me the house she and the Saunders had lived in was burglarized on 3/2/14. She told me she would not be able to make it to the station, but that her husband, Manuel, and the Saunders would be en route. The Saunders and Manuel Saunders identified most of the items recovered from the search warrant at the storage facility. After SBC photographed the items, they were listed on an RN3 sheet, and the victims signed for the property, and I released it to them. See attached sheet. The Saunders told me that they did not know of any of the suspects and did not give them permission to possess their stolen property, and they desire prosecution against them. Suspect Raymond Bennett. On 4/1/14 at 2200 hours, I spoke to Bennett at the Phoenix station. I explained to him I was investigating burglaries and a possession of stolen property. I told him I did not know if he was a suspect, but I would read him his rights. I read him his rights from my department-issued Miranda card. He answered yes, sir, to waiver question number 1, and yes, sir, to waiver question number 2. He has known Denise and Brian since 7th grade, but hadn't seen them in a while. He was the driver of the Mustang that went to the storage unit. He ran into Denise and her boyfriend, Matthew, yesterday. They decided to hang out today. He met them at her house at about 14:30 hours, where he picked up Matthew and her. Matthew asked him to take him to the storage facility because he was going to sell a flat screen TV that was inside. Matthew offered him a few dollars to drive him, and he did. Matthew asked him if he knew where he could sell the TV, and he suggested at a pawn shop. They pulled up to the gate, and Matthew did not know the entry code. Matthew stepped out and called someone on the phone in an attempt to get the code. At that time, the police pulled up behind him and arrested him. He does not know Larry Martinez. He does not know about any of the stolen vehicles or burglaries and was not involved in them. He did not know Matthew was going there to get stolen property. Witness, Karina Brady. Karina is the live-in manager of the Stevens storage unit located at 2890 Yates Street. Karina handled the transaction involving Larry Martinez. Karina told the suspects came over to her storage facility on 3/2/14 around 1300 hours. A large white male driving a newer four-door white pickup truck tried to rent a unit, but he had expired identification. She told him he had to have a valid ID to rent the unit. He went back out to the truck. A few minutes later, an Hispanic male that identified himself with a California driver's license as Larry Martinez came inside. She compared the photograph on the ADL to the person standing in front of her and confirmed it was Martinez. She rented him unit number 320 for 1 month for $60 at about 13:51 hours, and he paid with a $100 bill. She captured an image of his ID on the computer, as she normally does. She thought there were only 2 people in the truck when she guided them to the space, but a third white male later got out of the vehicle. She believes Martinez asked him what his name was, and he answered as Jones, Mason Jones. All 3 males were in possession of the property and loaded the items into the Mason storage. She says she thinks she remembers a barbecue grill and a duffel bag as well as other property in the back of the truck. She believes she could ID the suspects again if she saw them in a lineup. She supplied me with the receipts and paperwork showing his possession of the storage shed. Photographic lineups. I put together a photographic lineup of Larry Martinez in the number 3 position and showed it to Karina. She positively identified him as the person that actually rented the storage unit number 320. I put together a lineup of Matthew Myers in the number 2 position, and she also identified him as one of the males that was with Martinez when they loaded the property into the storage unit. See the attached photo lineups and the admonishments. Additional information. The storage unit was rented the same day to the same day that the Saunders home was burglarized. The third suspect at the storage unit and who was also in possession of the stolen property with the white pickup is unknown at this time. The regional manager of the storage unit provided me with a thumb drive from their camera, but I was unable to identify a license plate number on the vehicle. Deputy Casey interviewed the other subjects that were arrested at the storage unit. Witness interview. This interview took place at the Phoenix Sheriff Station at approximately 17:01 hours on 4/1/17 with the witness. This interview was digitally recorded and downloaded onto a CD and placed into the evidence at the Phoenix station. While at the Phoenix station, I conducted an interview with the witness who was identified as Denise Wood. The following is a summary of statements made by Wood. I read Wood her Miranda rights due to being a custodial interview. Wood answered yes to question number 1, indicating she understood her rights, and Wood answered yes to question number 2, indicating she was willing to give a statement. I asked Wood to tell me what had taken place today. Wood said she was at her house with her boyfriend, who she identified as Matthew Myers, when Raymond came to pick them up. After Raymond came to pick them up, they went to the Camden Apartments, where Matthew got out of the vehicle and went to an apartment to see Jose, where he got some money. I asked Jose who was giving him money. She said she didn't know and said maybe because he owed him money. I asked what happened after they left the Camden Apartments. She said they drove around trying to find something to do. Then they went to the storage unit. I asked why they went to the storage unit, and she said that they went there to see what was in it. I asked whose storage unit it was, and she stated it was Matthew and Larry's. I asked how she knows Larry. Wood told me she knows Larry because she met him a couple of times and that he is a friend of Matthew's. I asked what they were doing and going to pick up at the storage unit. She said she didn't really know. She was just going along for the ride. And Larry was calling her cell phone to give her the passcode because Matthew didn't know it to get into the storage facility. Wood told me that the last call that was made to her by Larry was to tell her the passcode and to tell her that his sister told him that the cops were watching the storage place and that he was just down the street, and then you guys just showed up and arrested us. I asked Wood to tell me more about how she knows the subject, Larry, that she is referring to. She stated she met him a couple of times. One time when Larry called her, he was calling to ask her for a ride because his car had been towed and was asking for a ride to Monroe Street. I asked her if she knew where he was when he called and asked for the ride. She said she thought he was on River Road. She also said she thought that his vehicle had been towed by Adams Elementary School. Wood further elaborated after asking if she had any knowledge of the stolen vehicles and Larry's involvement, that Larry had told her in the past that he had, in fact, stolen vehicles. When he does steal a vehicle, he finds a clean vehicle and steals the plate off of it and puts it on the stolen vehicle so that if the cops run it, it will come back as a clean vehicle. I asked if she knew what type of vehicle he had just towed when she had that contact. She said that it was a Toyota, and she also elaborated that he had 3 cars, all of which were Toyotas. I asked if she had any knowledge of those vehicles being stolen, and she stated she didn't know. I asked Wood if she had any knowledge of there being stolen property in the storage unit where we had made contact with her. She said yes, she believed that everything that would be in there was stolen. I asked why, and she said that it just was how Larry operated. She said he had the storage unit because that is where they were storing stolen property. I asked her if she knew this for sure or if this was just her feeling. She indicated that it was just her feeling that there could be stolen property in there. That concludes the summary of the statements made by Wood. There may be additional supplements referenced from the information from Wood from the supplemental done by Sandcat. All right, so there's more, but I'm going to stop there. We'll finish that next week. A lot of times they'll read these in court as evidence. So that was the case there. Okay, so let's go ahead and do some Q&A. This first one is just a 1-page, so that's nice because I can read it at 180, 200, again at 225. And there is a word list. We've got seasonal, crops, varies, handle, summer, spring. In other words, from time to time, melons, possibly, salary, wages. All right. Whiteboard here. And again, this is going to be defense. And I will read this first time at 180. Here we go. Your business is seasonal, is it not? Yes. What are the busiest times of the year in your particular line of business? Summer. Well, that is rather a broad term. Approximately from what month to what month? From the beginning of the summer to the end of the summer. Well, what do you consider summer? The end of spring. When is that? April 1, May 1, about the latter part of May. Would you say May 15? It all depends on the year, sir. In other words, it varies from time to time as the crops mature. Is that correct? It varies as much as 1 month in our business. Do you have a heavy fall season, a heavy fall business? Not very heavy. Do you handle melons, or did you handle melons in your business? Some, yes. Quite a bit. Not very much. Now, did you have another conversation with him concerning salary or wages? Not to my knowledge, no, sir. And the 2 conversations that you have related took place in the summer? Yes, I believe it was in the summer. Did you have any conversation with him in the fall? Possibly. I might have had some then. All right, let's do it again at 200. Excuse me. Your business is seasonal, is it not? Yes. What are the busiest times of the year in your particular line of business? Summer. Well, that is rather a broad term. Approximately from what month to what month? From the beginning of the summer to the end of the summer. Well, what do you consider summer? The end of spring. When is that? April 1, May 1, about the latter part of May. Would you say May 15? It all depends on the year, sir. In other words, it varies from time to time as the crops mature. Is that correct? It varies as much as 1 month in our business. Do you have a heavy fall business? Not very heavy. Do you handle melons, or did you handle melons in your business? Some, yes. Quite a bit. Not very much. Now, did you have another conversation with him concerning salary or wages? Not to my knowledge, no, sir. And the 2 conversations that you have related took place in the summer? Yes, I believe it was in the summer. Did you have any conversation with him in the fall? Possibly. I might have had some then. All right, last time at 225. Here we go. Your business is seasonal, is it not? Yes. What are the busiest times of the year in your particular line of business? Summer. Well, that is rather a broad term. Approximately from what month to what month? From the beginning of the summer to the end of the summer. Well, what do you consider summer? The end of spring. When is that? April 1, May 1, about the latter part of May. Would you say May 15? It all depends on the year, sir. In other words, it varies from time to time as the crops mature. Is that correct? It varies as much as 1 month in our business. Do you have a heavy fall business? Not very heavy. Do you handle melons, or did you handle melons in your business? Some, yes. Quite a bit. Not very much. Now, did you have another conversation with him concerning salary or wages? Not to my knowledge, no, sir. And the 2 conversations that you have related took place in the summer? Yes, I believe it was in the summer. Did you have any conversation with him in the fall? Possibly. I might have had some then. All right. So we'll do some regular Q&A. Again, this is defense questioning, but the plaintiff and the court will come in as well here. Okay. All right, so I'll start this at 200 and work my way to 225. Here we go. Sorry, push down this page. Here we go. Do you know if that belongs to the railroad there? It's quite possible. Do you know if it does or not? No. How far is it from where is it Rundle? That's a Mr. Rundle. How far is it from where Mr. Rundle last saw that pole on April 7th to the ditch? What's the distance between those 2 places? I would estimate the distance to be less than 200 yards. Okay, and can you tell me what the distance is from the ditch to the residence at Sandbar? 8 miles less to approximately 200 yards. Pardon me? I said from, could you repeat the question? Yes, the distance from the ditch to the residence at Sandbar, how far is that? Are you talking about the specific point in the ditch where he first saw the drag marks? Otherwise, I think it is vague. Okay, let me rephrase it. You followed or observed tracks from where the pole was on the railroad property where Mr. Rundle left it on the 7th laying down uninstalled, correct? Yes. If I understand your testimony correct, the distance from that location to where the drag marks you observed to a ditch you testified was about 200 yards. Is that correct? Yes. Now I'd like to know what the distance is from that ditch that you've just indicated, how far it is from that ditch to the residence at Sandbar where you saw the truck. Less than 8 miles. Okay, and did you observe tire tracks either on the first set of drag marks or the second set of drag marks? Could you rephrase the question as far as the drag marks? Go ahead, counsel, rephrase it. Let me ask you with regard to the distance between where the pole was originally left by Mr. Rundle on the railroad property and the ditch. Did you see any tire tracks between those 2 points? Yes. Did you see any tire tracks between the ditch and that residence at Sandbar? Did you see any tire tracks in that area? Yes. Did you compare those tire tracks to tire tracks on the truck? I was unable to. The reason why? Inclement weather. Did you take any photographs? Yes. Of the tires? Of the tires? The tread on the tires. I don't recall that I did. Did you take any photographs of the tire tread marks on the ground? I believe I did. But you were not able to compare those to the tire treads on the truck? That's correct. And you still haven't done that right up to today? That's correct. You indicated that when you spoke to Mr. Wilson, that he told you he helped Mr. Miller? Yes. Did he tell you how he helped Mr. Miller? No. And when you first saw him, he was a passenger in the truck, correct? No. You saw him walking around the property at Sandbar? No. When the sheriff had him detained with the truck and the cut up pieces of the pipe, did you see Mr. Wilson at that point in time? Yes. Is that the first time you saw him? Yes. Where was he when you first saw him? He was in the sheriff's unit. Okay, then you spoke with Mr. Rundle, who followed the truck to that location. Is that correct? Yes. From the Sandbar residence? Yes. He told you that Mr. Wilson was in the passenger seat in the truck? Yes. Did he tell you he saw him help Mr. Miller in any fashion other than just being in the truck? No. I know you said that this pole was not smooth. Is that correct? Yes. And you're talking about that it's a galvanized type of pole, that the surface is irregular? Yes. So you wouldn't be able to dust that for prints if someone was handling it? No. Didn't Mr. Wilson indicate to you that he believed the pole to be abandoned property in the ditch? Yes. And when you questioned him about the pole, he indicated to you that there were no markings on it that identified that it belonged to either Edison or the railroad, correct? Yes. Or anybody else? Yes. In that sense, there's nothing, no marking on the pole whatsoever in any location that would assist someone in knowing who it at some point in time belonged to? Yes. There is or not? Could you repeat the question? Sure. Is there any marking on the pole that would assist someone to know who the owner of the pole was at any previous time? No. There aren't any railroad tracks that go through the ditch or by that ditch, are there? Yes, there are. Where you saw the drag marks go to in that location, that's what I'm talking about. Yes. How far away are the railroad tracks from the ditch that you saw the tracks leading up to? I'd have to clarify, if you would. The ditch is a long ditch running from east to west from the aqueduct area, which intersects the railroad tracks where the pole was left. Okay. And in your answer to your question, within 200 yards. Okay. Where the pole was originally left by Mr. Rundle, who was going to install it, how far away was the railroad track from the location where the pole was left, where he left it? The distance between where the pole was left, getting ready to be installed, and where the railroad tracks were. I'm so sorry. Can you rephrase the question? Do you want the question read back? No, it's okay. I'd like to know the distance from where Mr. Rundle originally left the pole and the railroad tracks. Was it adjacent to it? Yes. Okay, now when you go to the area where where the pole was dragged up to the ditch, and then drag marks after the ditch, how far away is that location from the railroad tracks? I'd say approximately 100 yards. Thank you so much. No further questions, Your Honor. Counsel? Nothing further, Your Honor. Well, 2 follow-up questions. Go ahead. Okay. Officer, near the railroad tracks where Mr. Rundle last saw the metal pole, are there signs to the effect of no trespassing, property of Union Pacific, or anything like that that you recall? I don't believe so. What about the area of the wash near Oak Road? Are there any signs, no trespassing, property of Union Pacific Railroad? No, nothing further. What about Edison? Any signs in the ditch that indicate that it's property that belongs to Edison? I don't know. Okay, nothing further, Your Honor. All right, Ms. Young, nothing further, Your Honor. The people rest. We are good. Counsel, do you have any further questions? No, nothing. Okay, you can step down. Call your next witness. People have no further witnesses. People rest. Affirmative evidence today, counsel? Rest. Okay, very well. No affirmative. Motion. People move to hold both defendants to answer for any and all crimes shown by the evidence. Counsel, I think there's no evidence that at all that Mr. Miller or Mr. Wilson took anything from Union Pacific property near the railroad. There's drag marks, which the prosecutor could argue are circumstantial, that lead to the wash. Mr. Miller and Mr. Wilson admit that they took the pole from the wash. It's slim evidence as to count 2. But if the court does make a holding order, it should only be to count 2. My request is for the court to reduce that to a misdemeanor if it did make a holding order. And I will join in counsel's argument with regard to Mr. Wilson. I think the evidence does suggest that they both were under the impression that this was an abandoned item, and it wasn't on the railroad property. It wasn't on the Edison property, and it wasn't marked in any way that would put someone on the notice that it belonged to Edison or to the railroad. If the court finds that there is sufficient evidence in regard to count 2, I would ask that the court consider a motion pursuant to 17B. I join counsel with regard to count 1. I believe there's an insufficiency of the evidence with regard to count 1. Submit, Your Honor. All right, counsel, I appreciate your arguments. This is a preliminary hearing, unfortunately. I think there is sufficient evidence. The court can't ignore the statements that were made by your clients to the officer who interviewed them. And it seems like they didn't think this was abandoned at all. They thought it was somebody else's property. We're not hearing the whole story today. This isn't supposed to be a trial, but I believe there is sufficient evidence to hold both of them to the answer. I'm not going to make this a misdemeanor. It is something that could be brought up again. I doubt there's any chance that this conduct, if Mr. Miller is responsible for it, is going to come away with a misdemeanor, having 2 prior felony prison convictions, 2 prior prison terms. Mr. Wilson, I have no idea what your background is today, but I'm not willing to split these cases up and have one of you answer for a misdemeanor and one for a felony. I'm going to hold the case to answer in Department 4 on Thursday, about 2 weeks from today. That will be the date of September 22nd at 8:30 in the morning. Mr. Miller, Mr. Wilson, I'm ordering both of you to appear in Department 4 for arraignment on any information that is filed, and I'm going to hold you to answer. Thank you. Thank you, Your Honor. Thank you. Thank you, Your Honor. All right. How are we doing on time? Oh, so I'll read just maybe one more minute. Actually, you know what? Let's see here. Yeah, this is perfect. This one here. This is plaintiff. Okay. All right. I'll read this at 2:25. Here we go. How long have you worked for the Philadelphia Police Department? 3 years and approximately about 3.5 years. Did you have any police experience before that? No. Officer, we understand that you investigated an accident back on July 15, 2006 at the intersection of Grand and State Streets involving a couple named Michael and Susan Young. Does that seem correct to you? So far. Do you have your report with you with regard to the accident? Yes, I do. Please feel free to refer to it and if and when you need to. Have you ever testified before, officer? I assume you must have somewhere along the line. Yes, I have. I won't pursue that then. Proceed, counsel. Thank you. Please tell us when the accident in question happened, if you please. The accident occurred at approximately 8 o'clock on 7/15/06. Okay, excuse me. Have you had a chance to read your report before you started today? I just glanced through it a minute ago. Okay, very well. Aside from what is written down in your report, do you have any independent recollection of the accident? In other words, can you picture it in your mind at all? Nothing other than what is in the report. Does the report refresh your memory to some extent? Yes, it does. Do you recall if there was any construction going on in the vicinity of the accident scene? Yes, there was. Can you tell us what construction was going on down there at the time? Well, they were working on the center of the raised dividers on State and Grand Streets. Let me check my report here. Sure, take your time. As I indicated earlier, they were doing construction on both State Street and Grand Street on the raised dividers. The number 1 left turn lane for northbound State Street traffic to go westbound on Grand was temporarily closed by the placement of orange traffic construction markers. That's to go from southbound to eastbound Grand. Those were the only construction markers at the accident scene at the time. I'm not sure if I missed it, but did you say the center island on Grand also? Right, there were no traffic control dividers at that time. They were in a state of construction, but they weren't actually completed at that particular time. There were no traffic control dividers set out other than the standard lane markings that were normally there. Okay, thank you. To your knowledge, was this the first installation of traffic lights, or had there been others there before? There was an installation of traffic lights at an earlier time. This has always been a signal lighted intersection in my experience with the Philadelphia Police Department. The signals were taken out and the new ones were installed with modern or updated timing devices. I don't know exactly what was done, but I know they installed new signals as they were working on them for quite a while. At the time of this accident on July 15, 2006, was it the new signals that were controlling traffic or the old signals? I can't say for sure. However, based on the fact that the center divider work was being done, I feel that they were the new set of signals. The men were working on the center dividers, working and filling in the actual divider itself. Do you know, either from your own memory or from what's in your report, whether the old signals were still physically there or had they been removed by the time this accident happened? I can't say. If these were the new signals, naturally, they were in place. Erie and company were doing the work. Do you know where they base their operations? Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. I work with them periodically. I know they are an independent contractor, and I think the state hires them to do this type of signal work. How was that?
Good. Better than I thought it would be.
Good.
Yeah.
I think sometimes a little break is good, you know?
Yeah. And also it reminds me that I really do like what I do, you know? It's fun for me, so.
So awesome.
Yeah, when there's not so much pressure, it's okay.
That's right. It's awesome.
Yeah.
Yes. Yep. That's right.
Good workout.
Yes. Great job. Great job. And we'll still have class, you know, next week.
Okay.
So hopefully I get to see you.
Good. Yeah, I'm not gone until next weekend after this.
Okay.
So good.
Okay. Perfect.
All right.
Yeah, the only class we'll probably move will be Monday, you know, the actual Christmas day. We'll probably just move that to another day that week, but that's really the only one I think that will be affected. So
okay.
Yeah, and that's a lower speeds class. So yeah.
All good.
All right. Sounds great. Well, Donna, have a great day. And feel free to look that up in Facebook. Encouraging court. It's encouraging court reporting students.
I will. Thank you.
Okay. You're welcome. And then you just have to ask to be added, and they'll ask you like, how are you affiliated with court reporting? And you tell them and they'll add you right away. So
sounds good.
All right. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Bye, Donna. Thank you.